Just a reminder, the comments and demos presented in this training apply to Autodesk Smoke 2013 Pre-Release Trial 1. This software is in active development, so screens and functions will change over time. Hi, this is Larry Jordan, and this is Session 6, Trimming, Transitions, Titles, and Effects. Smoke began as an effects engine, so this session simply skims the surface of what's possible. In this session, I want to show you how to trim an edit point, how to add and modify a transition, how to add and modify a title, and how to add an effect using both timeline effects and connect effects. Smoke has all the standard trimming tools, but it doesn't behave the way you expect. So let me show you how to trim by illustrating two different types of clips to trim. The first is video only, and the second is sync sound, where we have both audio and video. By default, when a selection tool is selected, this acts just like the selection tool inside Final Cut. Let's move the playhead out of the way here. We'll just drag that over. If I grab the end of a clip and drag, it makes the clip shorter by shortening the out, but doesn't affect anything downstream, and I can't make the clip any longer. If I drag it and it bumps up against another clip, nothing changes. That's changed by the ripple button. When the ripple button is lit, now it acts like the ripple tool. Notice the cursor has changed color from red to yellow. As I trim the out, all the downstream clips move up. If I do a roll, turn the ripple button off, click on the edit point and roll, it rolls the edit point as we expect. When I turn the ripple button on and do a roll, now it shifts all the downstream clips, which is not what we normally expect in a roll. I'm going to turn the ripple button back off again. When you go to the select button, we can choose a slip, which allows us to slip the contents of a clip, except we can't see it because the playhead does not default to the clip we're trimming. So you need to manually move the playhead into the clip that you want to trim, and now as we slip, we can see the changes. But the viewer only shows the changes at the position of the playhead. It doesn't show the slip at the beginning or the end of the clip. We can also do a slide by going to here, click slide. Slip is the keyboard shortcut S, slide is the keyboard shortcut D. Click, hold, and drag, and now I can move the clip in a slide the way I normally expect, moving the position of the clip, but leaving the content the same. My recommendation is when you are trimming, if you are doing a roll, a slip, or a slide, the ripple button should be off. When you're doing a ripple, turn the ripple button on to get the behavior of pulling up the downstream clips the way you expect. Let's set that back to the select button again. Well, this is how we work with clips which are video only or audio only. What happens if we have sync clips, audio and video, as we do here? Well, let's go turn the ripple button off and grab the end of a clip and drag it, and notice what's happened. Even though the audio and video are synced, it only trims whatever portion of the clip I'm clicking on. And that's because there's a setting we have to change that's off by default. If you want linked clips to act like linked clips, go down to the gear menu, go to Group, and turn Link Selection on. It is off by default. Now when it's on, you're able to select both the audio and the video in a clip, and if you select Ripple, you ripple the audio and the video together. Again, if you want this to act as a ripple where all the downstream clips move up, turn the ripple button on, grab the edge and drag, and it works the way you expect. Just as with a single video-only clip or audio-only clip, turn ripple on for rippling, turn it off for rolling. And if we roll this, but wait a minute, I thought we had link selection on. Why are we just rolling video only? And the reason is, even with link selection on, Smoke does not roll the audio and the video together. If you need to roll audio and video at the same time, hold the Command key down, Command-click on all the edit points that you want to adjust, then when they're selected, now you can roll them all at the same time. So to restate, turn the ripple button on when you're rippling, turn the ripple button off the rest of the time. Select the edit points that you want to roll before rolling, so they all trim at the same time. And make sure to go down to the Group menu, that's down here in the gear, and make sure Group Link Selection is on to keep audio and video in sync. Next, let's talk about transitions. Here's how we apply transitions inside Smoke. There's two ways that we can decide what edit point has a transition applied. One uses the playhead, and the other uses selection. Using the up and down arrow keys, position the playhead on the edit point where you want to apply a transition. Notice that the focus point, that's that crossbar, is on the track to which you want the transition applied. The easiest way to add a dissolve is to type Command T. Command T applies a default dissolve transition to the track the focal point is in. This opens up the transition editing bar, and the default duration of the transition is 10 frames. Click, hold, and drag. You can make the transition whatever length you want. By the way, you can change that setting in Preferences under the Transition tab. You can change the position of the transition by clicking on this and say, end it at the edit point, center it on the edit point, start it at the edit point, so you can change the position. I'll leave this on-centered. To delete a transition, type Control-V, Control-V, as in Victor, converts the transition back to a cut. The other way that we can apply a transition is to select the edit point. Notice that I've selected that edit point by clicking on it. Hold the Command key down, and I can select multiple edit points. With the edit point selected, type Command T for transition, and I've now added the default 10-frame dissolve to each of the selected edit points. Go up to the transition editing bar, click, hold, and drag, and you can make it whatever length you want. To reset a transition, you could select it, but this starts to become an exercise in clicking the right thing. Instead, using the playhead, just position yourself on top of the transition, type Control-V, and you make the transitions all disappear. Notice that all three of the transitions were selected, all three of the transitions all disappeared at the same time. By the way, notice these sprocket holes. We also have sprocket holes at the top of a transition. The sprocket holes indicate that the clip or the transition needs to be rendered. To render a clip, select it, click the render button, and the status of rendering will show up in the low left corner of Smoke. Adding a dissolve is simple. You select the edit point either by clicking on it or putting the playhead there, type Command T, adjust the duration, you're good to go. Adding wipes, however, can aid you. Notice I've got the playhead on the edit point. The focus is on the clip that I want to add the wipe to. In this case, a button lights up. This is the transition button. When you click it, it allows us to add a dissolve. That's what Command T does. It's this keyboard shortcut to clicking that button. Or we can add a wipe. When we add a wipe, it opens up the wipe bar. Again, let's dial in a really big duration so we can see we've got something there. But what's the shape of the wipe? Notice it defaults to a vertical wipe. How do we change the wipe? You click on the pattern button. See this number here? The wipes are actually SMPTE numbers, and these are some of the different wipes we have to work with. Except when you go to this window, it's not going to look like this. Instead, it's going to look like that. And you're going to say, how am I supposed to figure out what a number 21 wipe does? The answer is you can't. You can't double click it, you can't highlight it, you can't see it. Instead, you go all the way up to the top left corner and see where this says proxies and titles. You click on the proxies or titles button, and then you can see what your wipe looks like. So if you wanted to have a sawtooth wipe, notice the number. It's number 74. So we click on number 74 to select it, the pattern changes to number 74, and we've now added that jigsaw wipe inside there. The process of adding the transition is exactly the same. The process of centering or left or right justifying, changing the duration, is exactly the same as a dissolve. What's different is finding the shape of the wipe. That's where the pattern button comes in. Remember to click titles to switch it to proxies, and then click the shape of the wipe that you want. The good news is we can create both 2D and 3D titles inside Smoke. We can have an unlimited number of text layers. We can select individual layers, even entire sentences. The bad news is you're not going to want to use the text tool. You're going to want to bring your text in from somewhere else. But just to show you how this works, Smoke always applies text to gaps. So notice I've created a second track here. We'll pull the focus up and then select the clip that I want to add the text to. Once the clip is selected, by the way, I selected it by clicking on it, type Shift-V. It creates a gap equal to the duration of the selected clip. Now that that gap is created, right mouse click on it and say Add Effect. This displays the effects ribbon, and notice the third choice in is text. When we click text, it gives us the ability to enter text. We can change the font, we can change the point size. But if you look really, really carefully, you're going to find there's no place to actually enter the text. To do that, you got to click the Editor button. Now, don't be scared. This is actually far worse than it looks. This is the text editing system inside Smoke. It divides into 4 basic regions. This is where we're able to style the text. This is where we're able to select the font and the point size. This is where we're able to determine alignment like left, center, and right. And then we've got a variety of positional controls over here. Notice that it's still not clear where you're supposed to enter the text. You click on the picture. This opens up the text editor up here. Let's say we want to create a lower third. Type Dr. Vint Surf. That's the text, except now I want to grab it and move it. It's not moving. To move it, you go all the way down here and click this button. See where it says Edit? Edit allows me to edit the text. Move allows me to move the text. Now I can grab this text bar, move it down, position it the way that I want. I can add drop shadows. I can change the color of the font. I can change the point size. But the fonts, that's a bit trickier. Click on Discrete, double-click it, opens up the font editor. These are all the fonts that ship with Smoke. This starts to become just a lot too much. We're going to just exit the load font. We're done here. We're going to click exit. There's our title. Frankly, it's a whole lot easier to create your text inside After Effects or inside Motion or inside any other titling program. Bring that in as a standalone movie and key it into Smoke. But at least now you know how titling works. Effects are the real power of Smoke, and there are 2 kinds of effects. There are timeline effects and there are connect effects. Timeline effects are easy. Connect effects are infinitely powerful. Let me show you how to do both. Whenever we want to do an effect, you select something. In this case, I'm going to select this clip. Once it's selected, if the effects ribbon does not show up, click the effects button up here, and this gives you all the different choices that you have to pick from. You might think that doing a picture-in-picture effect, which is what we're doing, is the resize button. That's really more of a transcode and scaling button to get an object to fit inside the frame. If you want to reposition an object, select axis. Think X and Y axis for geometry. If axis is not lit, click it so it lights up, and then the effects ribbon shows up. This allows you to change the position and the scale of a clip. There's 2 ways that we can change a setting. For instance, here, if I click inside, it opens up a calculator, and I want this to be 40% scale, and because it's locked in size, the X and Y scale together. Or you can click, hold, and drag in a setting and drag it over. In this case, I'm going to drag it so it goes over to the right-hand side. I'd like to be able to align this with Action and Title Safe. How do I display them? Click the Options button, go down to Show Overlays. Inside Show Overlays, we have a variety of different things from letterbox, 4x3, free guides, grids, but in our case we want to set safe guides. We could display just Title Safe, just Action Safe, or both. I'll select both and click Done, and now both Action Safe and Title Safe are selected. I'll grab my Y value, click, hold, and drag, and raise the object up, and by dragging I can position that object, or I could enter the value that I want just by clicking on it and typing in the value, say 150. And now I've positioned that object precisely where I want it. This is a timeline effect. Easy to do, works inside the timeline. You work off the effects ribbon, works great. But doesn't begin to touch the real power of effects work that's inside Smoke. For that, we have to use connect effects. You could drag, but notice how dragging selected everything that we have here. Instead, I'm going to Command click to just select the clips that I want. With the clips selected, remember you always select first, go over to the Effects button, And notice this first choice called Create Connect Effects. When you click it, it opens up the node-based compositing system that underlies all of smoke, 2D, 3D with enormous power. And if you think I'm going to show you how this works in a short movie, you got another think coming. This is where the smoke learning channel can become truly helpful because there is so much you can do and so many great effects you can work with, all inside Connect Effects, that it makes the time spent learning smoke worthwhile. This series of movies was designed to help editors become comfortable with Smoke 2013 by building on their existing editing skills. Now the fun part starts, exploring it on your own. Remember, Autodesk is eagerly listening for feedback and actively making changes during this pre-release period. So take time to share your thoughts and suggestions. My name is Larry Jordan, and thanks for watching.